Okay, I think we are live. Hey there, how is it going? It is your muscle building coach, Lee Hayward, back for a live video Q&A. And it's been about a month since I've done one of these live Q&As because I've been away traveling for the past few weeks, and then just life gets busy and I didn't have a chance to do it. And of course, where I was staying to never had a good solid internet connection. So live streaming videos like this probably wouldn't go over that well. But back home, freezing my butt off in Canada. In fact, I was just out shoveling snow this morning. So good contrast workout there, right? Going from the extreme of nice warm weather to freezing my butt off and shoveling snow. But nonetheless, back at it, and I'm looking forward to doing a video chat with you today, and basically just sharing some strategies and techniques on how you can maintain your fitness when you are away from your home base, because I know sometimes that can be very challenging. So I'm going to cover a few tips and strategies that you can implement there, and I think this can benefit pretty much anybody, because there's always going to be opportunities arise where you're going to be taken out of your elements, right? Things are going to come up and it's going to throw you off your game, and there's ways that you can minimize the damage. Might not be perfect, but you can minimize it for sure. So before I get into discussing all that stuff, I just want to make sure that this is coming through loud and clear and you can hear me and see me and all that stuff. So let me see. All right. If you are tuned in live right now, you are a regular. You know, I usually always like to do my audio and video check. So if you can hear me, if you can see me, please let me know through typing in the video chat window, and I would much appreciate it. So I'm just going to refresh my screen here and make sure the video chat is coming through loud and clear. Sometimes there's a bit of a delay when I'm doing these. Shoot, let me get this organized here. Of course, when I started the video chat today, as soon as I went, because I always do this on my desktop computer where I have a hardwired connection. I prefer to do that versus going by Wi-Fi. So when I got set up, of course, my computer had to run through a whole bunch of updates. So that's why I was a bit late getting started with the video chat. But nonetheless, we're here and we're going to make it work. All right, audio's coming through fine. All good, all good. Okay, thank you, guys. I appreciate that. Got a lot of the regulars tuned in, joining us, which is nice. Some new people as well. And if you're new to these video chats, if you've never tuned into a live video chat before, first off, I want to welcome you. It's always cool to have new people joining in. And the way these work is I'm going to be hanging out here for about an hour and just kind of shooting the breeze. We're going to have a conversation. So anything that you would like to discuss as far as, fitness, nutrition, any specific challenges you're having with regards to building muscle, losing fat, questions about your workouts, go ahead, post those in the video chat window there, and I'll do my best to answer as many of those questions as I can during the video chat. Just a heads up, I'm not going to be able to answer them all. Obviously, you guys can type a lot of questions a lot faster than I can answer them, and I'm not going to be able to answer them all, but I'll do my best to answer as many as I can, and we'll take it from there. So, yeah, I'll wait now for there's a bunch of questions coming in right now. Cool. All right. So while I'm waiting for some more to come through, I'm just going to, again, give you a couple suggestions and a couple tips on things that you can do while you are traveling, because this is fresh on my mind now. One of the things that I found when I did get outside the element is diet is a big one. Diet is probably the worst. I mean, if you're outside, you're on the road, eating clean can be a big challenge. And one of the strategies that I've been implementing a lot lately, even when I'm in my home base, but especially when I'm away from home, is intermittent fasting. And I find that that helps big time for people who are trying to control their food intake and trying to either maintain their body weight or lose fat. Then I'm kind of in that maintain, lose fat. In fact, I would rather tip the scale in favor of fat loss, but it's not an aggressive fat loss. It's not like I'm getting ready for a bodybuilding show and I'm trying to do some aggressive cut. I'm trying to find a fat loss method that I can maintain over the long term. not some quick fix, get ripped quick and then go off the diet and balloon back up again. I'm not interested in that anymore. I'm looking for long-term maintainable results. And that's one of the drawbacks to a traditional cutting program is, I mean, if you go hardcore, right? I mean, I'll give you a hardcore cutting program right now. I know a lot of people probably want one. Well, here's one, right? Do 2 hours of cardio a day. Eat a low carb diet, chicken breasts and broccoli and egg whites and stuff like that. If you eat that limited diet, do 2 hours of cardio a day, along with your weight training, and you suffer that out for 3, 4, 5, 6 months, I guarantee you are going to lose weight. You are going to, depending on your starting point, you'll probably end up absolutely shredded. And that's basically what a competitive bodybuilder does when they're getting ready for a show. They starve themselves, they torture themselves, they put on the blinders, and they just grit it out with pure willpower and determination. And that's all fine and dandy, but the problem is it's not a long-term sustainable approach. Nobody wants to be doing endless hours of cardio while eating chicken breasts and broccoli day in, day out for the rest of their life. You are going to reach your limit sooner or later, right? I mean, probably sooner than later. But when you hit that limit, then that's when, you throw in the towel and you say, that's it. I can't take it no more. I'm going insane. I can't even think and function properly. And that's when the binging starts. And very often once the binging starts, then it's just like this negative spiral, is downhill, and you regain all the weight you lost, and very often you gain back more. So it can be a very devastating cycle. And anybody who's been through a bodybuilding competition before, chances are you've probably experienced some variation of this to a certain degree. I have myself. I mean, back in the day when I was competing on a regular basis, I would diet down, get ripped for competition, look great for the weeks leading up to the show, and of course the day of the show. And then within weeks after, balloon back up and then look like crap, right? So I've done that over and over and over again for years. And the thing that kind of kept me on track is I knew that, okay, I'm going to be competing again, in a few months, or I'm going to be competing again next year, or whatever. And that was always, I get myself back on track again. Now, in recent years, I mean, I haven't competed since 2011. So by not having that little check-in, what ended up happening is I just slowly started to gain body fat, and I never had that extreme cutting phase to lose it. So I was just gradually getting fatter and fatter and fatter until the point comes where all of a sudden, like, I'm creeping up on my 40th birthday, and I'm looking down and I'm like, man, where did this gut come from, right? I'm just like totally ballooned up, and people were noticing it. I couldn't hide it anymore, right? I was getting comments, on the YouTube channel saying, like, who's this fat SOB giving fitness advice, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, man, I got to do something. So that's when I got into the whole start again, getting fit over 40. That was my big motivation. And I'm still working on that. I mean, that's still a major goal of mine. But the way I'm doing it is not this short-term extreme cutting approach, which is not maintainable. I want to have a long-term lifestyle approach, and that's what I've been really focusing on. So I find intermittent fasting has helped a lot with that. Simply eating fewer meals allows me to control my caloric intake big time. And when you're eating fewer meals, even if you're not eating perfect meals, it can definitely help. Now, it's not a perfect solution, right? I mean, you can still get fat if you follow an intermittent fasting diet. You still need to have a structure in place. And one of the things that I find really helps is when you're eating your meals, always focus on the quality high nutrient foods first to fill up your appetite, satisfy your appetite, fill up your belly, and then move into the not so nutrient dense foods afterwards. So for example, if I'm sitting down to a meal, I'm going to fill up on the veggies. I'm going to fill up on the protein first. That is going to be my main foods right there. I mean, in fact, I'll try to satisfy my appetite with the veggies and the protein. Then I'll get into complex carbohydrates, the starch, the rice, the potatoes, the pasta, the whatever happens to be the carbohydrate for that meal. And then even if there is some dessert, I'll probably have some of that in moderation as well. And especially like if you're eating out at a restaurant or something like that, you have your typical 3-course dinner. Maybe, the appetizer would be like a salad. The main course would be, your meat and potatoes. And then, of course, the third one would be the dessert. I would still have that, right, in moderation. I would still eat that stuff. But because doing intermittent fasting, so, I mean, I've already took a big chunk of the calorie intake for the day is gone from not eating all day long. So by the time you get around to eating those foods, your body's able to process them better. And of course, it helps to stay within your calorie intake. And another big one is keeping consistent with the workouts. That is huge. I mean, even if your diet is so-so, or even if your diet is bad, but you're consistent with your workouts, you can still cancel out a lot of the negative aspects. I mean, you can still keep your metabolism high, and you can still burn off a lot of those calories as long as you are keeping active in terms of strength training and in terms of cardio. So daily exercise, that's my motto. I don't care what it is that I do, really, as long as I exercise and sweat every day. That is my motto. I must sweat every day. Now, I would prefer to have one of those, maybe go to the gym for a strength training workout one day, maybe do some cardio the next. If that doesn't work, then I'll improvise. It could be a body weight workout. And I posted a body weight workout that I did down in Florida with my son Harvey joining along with me. I'm sure many of you, if you're regulars, you've seen that video already. If you haven't, just go to my YouTube channel and check it out. It was a cool video. So I do body weight workouts like that. Getting outside for cardio, I mean, it could be as simple as just going for a walk. It could be going to the gym and doing cardio there. Today, it was out in the driveway shoveling snow for an hour. That was my cardio workout today. So it really doesn't matter what the heck you're doing, as long as you're keeping your body moving on a daily basis. And I find that daily exercise and just being smart about your food choices is enough to tip the scale in favor of a slow, steady fat loss. And again, it doesn't have to be extreme. Like, a lot of people think of these big extreme calorie deficit if you're trying to lose body fat. But even if you just average 100 calorie deficit per day, that is enough to tip the scale in favor of fat loss. So over the course of several weeks, several months, and over the course of even several years, you're going to gradually get leaner and stay lean, versus if you had it the other way, say like a 100 or a couple hundred calorie surplus. I mean, when you look at people who either gain weight or lose weight over the long term, it's usually nothing drastic. Like, even people who are getting older and getting fatter, like, like a lot of people do, when you look at it, it's such a slow, gradual thing. And it's not like they're purposely trying to get fat. I mean, very often they're actually purposely trying to stay in shape, but because the calories are not adding up, because they're not as consistent with their workouts, they probably are averaging like a very slight calorie surplus. And that slight calorie surplus over the course of several weeks, months, and years adds up to an overweight, out of shape person. Versus if you just took it in the opposite direction, a very slight calorie deficit over the course of the long term, that's going to help to lean out your physique. Now, granted, it's not going to be a rapid cut. It's not like you're going to lose 30 pounds in 30 days or anything like that. But over the course of the long term, you'll be able to maintain it and actually progress. So that's what I'm striving to do with my own training. I'm not looking to do an extreme cut, but just that slow, gradual process. And I mean, you can even see I've posted some progress pictures like on my Facebook page and sent it out through email. I mean, over the last year, I've leaned out considerably, but it's not from doing anything extreme. It's just being conscious of my approach and making sure that I'm in that very slight calorie deficit, so that I'm actually tapping into stored body fat and getting leaner over time, versus having it the other way around, where you're slowly packing on the pounds and, of course, getting fatter and more out of shape as you get older. So it's just that little mindset shift. It doesn't have to be anything extreme. It can be that little tiny shift, just to have that slow, gradual process over the long term. And it's very easy to do. I mean, you don't suffer or feel like you're depriving yourself or anything like that. You're still able to live and socialize and travel and not be a burden to the family like you are if you've been around any pre-contest bodybuilders before. You know that they are a burden to not only themselves but their family and all the social interactions they have, because it's a very selfish sport at that stage. But the approach that I'm trying to take now is a very social and interactive and maintainable approach. So again, if you'd like some more help, information and help about this, I actually have a website that I put together to help guys who are in the same boat, you know, approaching 40 or over 40, and you want to lose fat, build muscle, get rid of the gut, get back in shape. I actually put together a new website, and it's called the Muscle After 40 Blueprint. Muscle After 40 Blueprint. And you can check that out, or just send me an email and we can discuss more strategies if this is something that you're interested in. All right, so let's jump in. We got a lot of people joining us, so I'm just going to try and bang out as many questions and comments as I can. So we've got Orang joining us, saying, respectively, dumbbell press for chest. How should press it will be below chest, keeping inch above chest? Please advise. All right, I got to read that one again. Hang on. Dumbbell presses for the chest. How should press be below chest, keep an inch above chest? This is really going to depend on your individual body type, but if you're doing a dumbbell press, I personally recommend keeping your hands at a slight angle. So instead of having your fists like this, I like to keep them at a slight angle, and that naturally tucks your elbows a little bit, takes some of the rotation and strain off the shoulders, places more on the chest and triceps. So I like to use basically a 45-degree angle if I'm doing a dumbbell press for the chest. And as far as how far to go down, I personally go down until the dumbbells just touch my chest. Now, I'm not resting the dumbbells on my chest, but I'll go down until the dumbbells actually make contact with the surface of my chest. And I just find that works well for me. I mean, I'm a bit thick in the torso, so I kind of need that in order to make a good range of motion. As someone who's a bit slimmer or maybe got longer arms, you may not need to go all the way down until the dumbbells touch your chest. But bottom line, just experiment with it and see what feels the best for you. I mean, we all have different body types. You know, some people are thicker in the torso. Some people have that long, lean torso. Some people have short arms. Some people have long arms. So like the technique that's going to work for a tall person might not be the same technique for a short, stocky person. So you really need to customize it and modify it for your individual situation. But bottom line, I want you to focus on quality and feeling the muscles work more than anything. So experiment with it, try the different variations. You can even try different bench angles, you know, an incline, flat, decline, see what works the best for you and use that. And don't go getting too hung up on what everybody else is doing or saying, because again, you really need to customize it for yourself. All right, Sean is asking, do you still use creatine? I do. I still use creatine. I'm not super strict with it, meaning that I don't like take it every single day, or if I miss a day, I don't freak out. Like for the last 3 weeks, I was down in Florida on vacation with my family. I didn't take a jar of creatine with me, and I didn't buy any while I was down there. But now that I'm back home again, I'm using creatine. So if you're using it fairly regularly, like over the long term, you're really not going to notice a difference. Even taking a break from it like I just did. I took like 3 weeks off from creatine. I didn't really notice it, because the way creatine works is you build up a reserve of it in your system. It's kind of like when you're taking vitamins and you're getting adequate nutrition. You build up a reserve in your system. So if you deplete for a long term, you actually go into like a vitamin deficiency, or in this case, a creatine deficiency, then you'll notice it. But as long as you maintain adequate reserves, you're not going to really notice the ups and downs or the peaks and valleys. And besides that, a lot of the high protein foods like meat and fish and things like that, that contains natural creatine as well. So even if you're not supplementing with a creatine powder, but you're eating high protein food, again, the meat and the fish and stuff like that, you're still getting maybe a gram or two of creatine per day from that. So, I mean, that can help to maintain your creatine levels. And that's probably why I didn't really notice a big difference when I stopped the supplementation. But yeah, I still use it. And I personally try to use it on a regular basis, just the same as you take your multivitamin on a regular basis or whatever. I take creatine on a regular basis. We have Rube 504, I think, could be wrong with the name, but anyway, Says, it's been 3 months of deloading and working back to 315 on the squat. I cannot complete 5x5. Some gym bro told me I need to do a volume block in order to see strength gains. What does he mean? Ask him. There's all kinds of different programs there. I mean, I don't know exactly what, without talking to your gym bro, I really don't know what he means by the workout either. So there. So you're going through a phase. You said you've been 3 months of deloading. First off, 3 months of a deload is a long time. I mean, that's actually, when people talk about like going through a deload phase, it's usually like a week, couple weeks, or maybe a month, something like that. I mean, people usually don't deload for months on end. I mean, if you're training below your max, like you're training suboptimally for months on end, yeah, you're going to lose some strength. You're going to lose some progress from that. As far as building your strength back up, there's different strategies that you can go about. If your personal best was 315 on the squat and you say you can't complete that, obviously you start with whatever your current max is, your current lift within your current means is what I mean. But one strategy that you might want to do to help get your body used to lifting heavy weights again is power rack lockouts with your previous max, or even possibly even heavier than your previous max. Like doing quarter squats in the power rack off the safety pins, where you just condition your body to handling heavier weight. And this is a strategy you can use for all your big barbell lifts, your squats, your benches, your deadlifts. Power rack lockouts is a great strategy to just condition yourself to handle heavier weight. Now, if you've never done them before, obviously ease into it. You know, like don't try and push yourself too much too soon, because you can still get injured doing a power rack lockout, same as you can get injured lifting too heavy in any exercise. But it's relatively safe, right? Doing a power rack lockout is a great strategy for overloading the muscles relatively safely, because you're lifting in that strongest range of motion. And it does help to strengthen the joints, tendons, and ligaments and the connective tissue to handle the heavier weight. So that's a strategy that I would recommend you give a shot. You know, probably do 5x5 with 315 in the power rack lockout. And what you could even do, I mean, one strategy that some people do is they gradually work to a deeper range of motion. So maybe if you can lower the pins each week rather than increasing the weight. So for example, maybe you're just doing if the power rack has good hole spacing, where you have multiple hole spacings and you can lower the pins like maybe by 1 inch or 2 each time, that would be ideal. But you know, start off at a high pin setting and then each week lower it down and try to work on increasing the range of motion versus increasing the weight. So that's a strategy you might want to include. Anyway, let's move on. Sean's asking another question. Do you think John Cena has ever used performance-enhancing drugs? Is it possible to look like that naturally? I don't know John Cena personally. I don't know what he has taken, but if I was a gambling man, I would gamble on that he has used some sort of performance-enhancing drugs, and I would gamble on that 99.9% of all professional athletes have. A good show or a good program that you might want to watch to kind of enlighten you on this topic is Bigger, Faster, Stronger. It's a documentary. It's been around for years. I think you can watch it on Netflix. It's a good watch. Moving on, we have Rose Malik. Again, I could probably be mispronouncing your name, but he says, hey, big man, thanks for the live stream. Thank you for tuning in. Appreciate the support. We have Sir Games a Lot saying dirty bulk versus a healthy bulk. Do I even need to answer that? You eat like crap, you're going to look like crap, and of course it's not good for your health in the long term. I would always opt for healthy foods over processed junk foods, regardless if you're bulking or cutting. Right? I mean, if you can't read the ingredients of the foods you're eating, if you can't pronounce the ingredients that are on the label, then you shouldn't be putting it in your body, right? You know, natural, unprocessed foods most of the time. Now, I'm not saying that you can't have the occasional cheat meal or treat or something like that, but 90% of the food you eat should be natural, clean, unprocessed food, and keep the junk and crap to a minimum. Another question here. This one's from Sean again, saying, I purchased your hand grippers. How many times a week did you use them to add size and strength Closing the 350-pound gripper seems freaky. I want to do that shit too. There's several different variations of the the hand gripper workouts, but I found the most effective for me was every other day or 3 days a week. Having a full day of rest in between each gripper workout was what worked the best for me. And what you're going to find is your grip, just like if you train any muscle group frequently, like let's just say, for example, you train the grippers every single day. Day 1, you probably feel okay. Day 2, you feel okay. Day 3, you're starting to feel a bit sore, overtrained, not going to feel as strong. And you can actually get to the point where it almost feels like you're losing strength. But then if you take a few days off, let yourself rest and recover, and all the joints, tendons, and ligaments in your hands and forearms rest, then you can come back and actually feel stronger. So what I found, every other day was a good schedule, but sometimes if you even prolong that, maybe you skipped a couple workouts here and there, you could actually return to the grippers feeling even stronger after several days of rest, because you just let yourself rest, recover, and grow. So, I mean, over the main program, I want you to train 3 times a week. But realize that if you're like trying to set a new personal record, like you're trying to squeeze that next gripper, give yourself a few days of rest and recovery before attempting it. And chances are you'll be extra strong and just more rested, so you can actually do your best when you do attempt that new personal record. All right, let's move on. Keep this going. We have Kyle joining us. We have Glenn is joining us. Andy is joining us. Daniel is joining us. Thanks, guys, for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Daniel saying, Lee, recently I was advised to do a carb cycle. Not 100% sure how to do this effectively. Any advice? How many grams of carbs is a low carb day? Blah, blah, blah. If somebody advised you to do a carb cycle, maybe like it was a coach or someone like that, then you should get them to help you with that. When it comes to nutrition like that, it's a very customized thing. What might be low carb for one person could be not low carb for another. All right. I do incorporate carb cycling in my customized training and nutrition programs, but it's not like a one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach. It really comes down to customizing the diet to the individual, right? I mean, like putting that in perspective, that's like saying, like, how much gas should a car burn? Well, it depends on the type of car, right? Is it a 4-cylinder, hybrid, or is it, a V8 gas guzzler? Is it a muscle car, sports car? Is it a work truck, right? It's saying how many carbs should you eat? That's there's so many variables left unanswered. I need to know how big you are. I need to know your age, your goals, what type of metabolism you have. I mean, we have to go through all these things, and basically, even then, when we go through all this and design a customized nutrition program, that's just an educated guess. That's just kind of like putting us in the ballpark to see where we're going to get started. Then we need to follow along with your progress, see how your body responds, and adjust it accordingly. So, I mean, it's not just these one-size-fits-all cookie-cutter approach. I mean, I know that's what a lot of people provide, or a lot of people go looking for, and that's why a lot of people struggle with this, is because if they're trying to follow that, you might have a diet that's perfect for one guy, and it could be a total disaster for the next, right? So you really need to modify it and adjust it for yourself. Now, if this is something you would like help with, I mean, I do offer customized training and nutrition programs. I mean, I've been doing this for over 20 years. So shoot me an email, head on over to my website, leehayward.com, send me an email, and we can chat about it. All right, we have Andy is joining us. He says he's new to the video chat. Welcome, Andy. Glad to have you tuning in. And of course, welcome to anybody else who's new to the chat as well. We have Frederick joining us. Lee, how big are your calves, and what would you recommend for calves? I don't know how big they are. I haven't put the tape to them in a while, but I would say 18 or 19 inches thereabouts. And that's a very realistic measurement. I'm not exaggerating. I've naturally have big calves. Well, what I should say is calves have responded well for me. I mean, I still had to train to build them, but they're just one of those muscle groups that just responded well. Before I got into bodybuilding and weight training. I was doing a lot of BMX biking as a kid, a lot of skateboarding. So, I mean, there's a bit of lower body activity there. So, I mean, that helped to build up my calves. Then I got into martial arts, and of course, the different kicking and stretching and all the leg exercises that we did through martial arts, that helped to build up my calves as well. But they just responded really well for me. So I had naturally good calves. I wish I had the same muscle fiber makeup in my calves as like in my arms, for example. If I had the same type of muscle fiber makeup in my arms as I do in my calves, I mean, that would be cool, because my arms and shoulders are stubborn for me. But calves are not so. I mean, even if I don't train calves, they're still big, right? But what would I recommend for calves? First off, go do a YouTube search for Lee Hayward calf workout. I've got several videos out there already about calf workouts that you can go and see. But the best tip that I can give anybody when it comes to training calves: don't lift too heavy. That's the biggest mistake I see guys make. I see, skinny teenagers with stick twig legs. I'm talking about calves, not even as big around as that microphone, right? It's little stick twig legs, and they got the full weight stack on the calf raise machine, and they're doing these little bouncy up and down reps in the mid-range with way too much weight. Cut the weight in half, or even cut it in a quarter. I mean, heck, start with your body weight for God's sakes. And just get used to going through a full range of motion. When you do your calf raises, I want you to let your heels sink all the way down for a full stretch. Let the calves fully stretch out in the bottom. Hold that for at least a second or two. Then come all the way up on the balls of your feet, right up on your tippy toes, and squeeze the crap out of your calves and hold that for a second or two. And each repetition, go through that exaggerated range of motion. Full stretch, hold it. Full peak contraction, hold it. Full stretch, full peak contraction, and go through them in that range. None of these little short bouncy reps in the middle, right? That's useless. You're every time you take a step, you're doing a little short bouncy rep in the middle. If you want to stimulate growth in the calves, you got to get outside of your normal range of motion, right? You need to get into the fully stretched and the fully peak contracted, and really focus on squeezing and stretching with each repetition. If you did that alone, you would see big results, big changes in your calves. And keep the weights moderate. I mean, I don't lift heavy weights with calves, right? I mean, and my calves respond well. I mean, I have lifted weights. Yes, I could put the whole weight stack or whatever it is on the standing calf raise, but I find that I actually get better results with moderate weight and better form and more time under tension. All right, so let's move on. Richard is joining us. Best training program for a tall female trying to lose weight. I would need to know more about you. As far as being tall, I mean, the same principles apply, regardless if you're tall, short, fat, thin, whatever. I mean, you still have the same major muscle groups, right? You still got 2 arms, 2 legs, and chest in the back, and all that. Well, I assume you do. So the same exercises, the same basic type of training program. Generally, for someone who's a beginner, I recommend like a total body workout 3 times a week. And then on your non-workout days, your days off from weight training, I recommend doing some sort of cardio. Could be getting outside for a walk, could be doing cardio machines at the gym, but something to keep your body active every day. That's what I'd recommend to start with. And like say, as far as the weight loss program, you're going to have to follow that up with a nutrition plan as well. So what I recommend, I mean, that's a very broad general question, the best program to lose weight. It really depends on you, your body type, and where you are. I mean, again, if you're just starting out, then that's going to be a different program than someone who's been working out for 15 years, right? You really need to customize it to the individual. But if you want, again, head over to my website and, send me an email and we can chat about it. We can come up, we can discuss your individual situation and figure out a strategy that works right for you. Jeff is joining us. He says, "Hey Lee, I'm a big fan. After I get done doing legs, my knees are often very fatigued for a few days afterwards. They don't hurt, just very tired. Is it normal? Does this mean my form is incorrect?" Not necessarily. When you train, when you're going to the gym, you're doing your exercises, it's not just your muscles that are getting worked. It's your joints, your connective tissue, all that's getting stressed and strained as well. So sometimes you may feel that the muscles recover quickly, but maybe the joints, tendons, and ligaments don't recover as quickly. So that's why you need to allow adequate time for rest, recovery, and growth. I mean, a lot of people think that it's just muscle recovery, but it's more to it than that. And what you'll often find is the older you get, the more time it usually takes your joints, tendons, and ligaments to recover. So that's why you need to be more respectful of your body the older you get. So, I mean, again, without seeing your form, I really can't say if it's good or bad or whatever, but the fact that you're feeling joint pain after, or knee pain after your leg workouts, it doesn't always mean that you're using bad form. It could just mean that you're, placing a lot of stress and demands on the joints as well as the muscles, and they just need more time to recover. Now, if you are finding that after a few days of rest and recovery, that everything feels fine, and then you're able to train legs again, like for example, let's say you're training legs once a week and you're sore for a few days, totally normal, that's fine. But you find that by the time the next leg day rolls around, you feel rested and recovered and you're able to train hard, then I wouldn't worry about it. That sounds like a normal training stimulation, breaking down the muscles and then giving them time to rest, recover, and grow in between workouts. That sounds normal. But if the pain lingers on and you're always in this state of pain and discomfort, then we're going to need to look into something, because I mean, you either change your training program, change the exercises, something has to change, because you should not be in pain over the long term, right? Like have pain that lasts for days or weeks on end. That's not normal. A few days, that's fine, but if it lasts longer than that, that's beyond normal rest and recovery. Okay, let's see what else we got. We have Charles joining us. Let's see what Charles is saying. He is from Charleston, South Carolina. Do you think it's a good idea to do a 20-rep squat routine? I'm 53 years old. Will be 54 in 2 weeks. That's a brutal workout. I mean, you could. Of course you could do 20-rep squats, but that is a brutally hard workout. If you are going to do it, start very, very conservatively. And I would recommend that to anybody. If you actually read the 20-rep squat program, and I even have a copy of this. This is one of the classics, right? You have a copy of it up on the shelf. Super Squats. This is basically the book that talks about the 20-rep squat program. Now, 20-rep squats have been around a lot longer than this book has, but this book kind of made it mainstream. Anyway, if you read this book, they're going to tell you to start with a weight that you can normally do for 10 reps, but through sheer will and determination and breathing and rest pause and everything else, you're going to somehow grind out 20 reps with your 10-rep max. I'm going to tell you, don't do that. Do not do that if you want to do the 20-rep squat program. Start with a conservative warm-up weight. Start with a weight that you can easily do 20 reps with, right? Even if it's the empty barbell, I really don't care. Start with something that's very easy for you to do 20 reps, and then each week increase the weight by 5 pounds. So even if you started with the empty barbell, 1 week or one workout, then the next workout, the empty barbell and a 2.5 pound plate on each side. And the next workout, a 5 pound plate on each side, and just go up by 5 pounds each workout, and let the weight build up slowly and gradually. That is the safest way, and it's also a very effective way, because you're going to stay within your body's ability to recover from the workouts, but you're still getting that progressive overload that's going to add up over time. And what you'll find is over the course of several weeks or several months or however long you can ride that program out, you're going to make some big gains. And that's basically what I did when I followed the program. I started off with a very conservative weight and just went up 5 pounds per workout. So the first few weeks, the first few workouts, it should feel pretty easy. But then the weights are going to start to gradually catch up. And now, okay, you got to work a little bit to complete the workouts. And you just kind of ride that wave of momentum. And eventually, after you've been doing it for, 6 or 8 weeks, then you're going to be like, this is damn hard. You're going to be struggling to complete the workouts. That's where you're really going to be pushing yourself. But at the same time, you should have made noticeable strength gains as well as size gains over that time frame. So it's a great program, but you got to go about it properly. And the key is to start off conservative, because if you start off too much too soon, you're going to plateau way too early. You're not going to be able to ride the program out and really milk it for what it's worth. And you also risk getting injured in the process. So that's my 2 cents worth on the 20 rep squat program. We got the boys from Critical Bench joining us. They're saying nice shirt. Thank you. I do like these are good shirts too. Got to give a shout out to Critical Bench. I was down there hanging out, back in February. Did a couple workouts at the compound, and yeah, I do like their shirts. I've got a nice collection of Critical Bench t-shirts, Critical Bench tank tops, all colors. My wife does as well, right? We could be models for the Critical Bench clothing line. Who else we have joining us? Manuel is joining us. No question, just wanted to say hi. Hi. Glenn is joining us. He says, is alternating chest workouts okay to do? I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that. Maybe you mean, like, is it okay to do chest workout A, meaning I do these exercises, one chest workout, and then chest workout B, I do totally different exercises? If that's what you mean, that's fine. In fact, when it comes to your workouts, pretty much anything is okay, right? You kind of got to like look at the bigger picture. Everything works to some degree, but the thing is, nothing's going to work forever. So you could follow a different workout programs, like, you can have multiple different exercises and different training splits. And as long as you're consistent, training with progressive overload, getting adequate sleep, rest, nutrition, you're going to still make progress. It's only when you really get consistent, and you get more advanced, that your body's going to adapt and plateau. That's when you need to kind of get creative and change things up and provide that unique muscle stimulation. But for most people, your average weekend warrior, and I would say a good 80% of the people at the gym that you see, the biggest thing that's holding them back is not the fact that they need more training stimulation or need more training variety or more advanced programs, is they need consistency. That's like 80% of the people, consistency is their thing. If they were consistent with their workouts, consistent with their nutrition, consistent with their rest and recovery and lifestyle, and making healthy choices, they would make consistent progress. It's only the people who are like the hardcore go-getters, right? The gym rats who just live and breathe in the gym, right? Like someone who's a competitive athlete or competitive bodybuilder, competitive powerlifter, someone who's very serious. Once you're at that level and you're doing all the basics, like you're consistent with everything, then you get to the point where, okay, the training can go stale because your body's adapted to whatever protocol and training split you're following. And then you may need to change it up and do some, different styles and methods, maybe do a deload phase, whatever. But for a good 80% of the people, the thing that's holding them back is not lack of variety, it's lack of consistency. So again, I don't know where you fall in that category, Glenn, but to answer your question, is it okay to alternate chest workouts? I would say yes. I think it would be. Giovanni is joining us, and he says, what's up, Lee? Hello, how you doing, Giovanni? We have Azim joining us. He says, Lee, thank you for sharing the collaboration videos. Eagerly waiting for the conversation between you and Elliot. Actually, that video is already up on Elliot's channel. If you haven't already done so, head on over to Strength Camp, and myself and Elliot Hulse. I'm sure most of you probably know Elliot Hulse. If you don't, just do a Google search or YouTube search for Elliot Hulse Strength Camp. He has a large YouTube channel, 1.8 million subscribers. But myself and Elliot did a collaboration video. Basically, it was just a conversation talking about training and business and life, and it was an interesting conversation. It was a long video. I think it was like 42 minutes long, but we go into some deep nuggets of wisdom and insights that we've gathered over the past 20 plus years. And I share how I got started online, how I got started on YouTube, as one of the pioneers to the whole online fitness scene. So it was a fun conversation, I must say, and I really enjoyed doing it, and I've got a lot of positive feedback from it as well. So if you haven't already done so, after this, you can head on over to Strength Camp and check out the video. It should be fairly high in the video. It's probably the most recent video that they've posted. If not, it's one of the most recent videos. Okay, what else we got? Says, I've got some bad news. My old shoulder, I guess he means my old shoulder injury, has resurfaced, so I'm out of the gym under further notice. It sucks to be out of the gym. Pray for me. If you have a shoulder injury, and this is, I'm going to share a tip here now. This applies to anybody who's suffering from injuries. It doesn't mean you can't train. You can work around the injury in most cases. Now, of course, there's probably some injuries out there that are more extreme. I mean, obviously, if you break your back or something like that, that's probably more extreme. But if you just got you got a shoulder problem, there shouldn't be anything holding you back from doing some leg workouts, from doing some abdominal workouts, from doing cardio. You can usually work around the injuries. And in fact, I did a workout with a friend of mine down in Florida just recently. He had broken his hand. So, I mean, obviously, upper body is out of the question. I mean, his hand is in a cast, but we trained legs, right? We did cardio, we did legs, and we still, he's still keeping himself active. I remember several years back, my wife broke her wrist in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. She was competing in that for several years, and she broke her wrist. And so, obviously, she couldn't train Jiu-Jitsu. She couldn't do upper body weight training, but she still did regular cardio. She still did regular leg workouts, and she still did regular work for her core, like ab work and lower back on the hyperextensions and then things like that. So you can still train around your injuries. Don't use that as an excuse to quit the gym entirely. And as long as you keep yourself active, that's going to minimize any fat gain. And it's also going to help to maintain your lean muscle while you're in this recovery phase. I mean, I see this all the time. Like, I get people saying, oh, I've got a whatever injury. I've got tennis elbow. I'm going to quit the gym. Oh, I got a bad shoulder. I'm going to quit the gym. Or I got whatever. Quitting the gym is not speeding up the process, right? I mean, yes, you want to let the injured area rest and recover and work around it, but you need to keep yourself active, because just that general activity, even if it's just regular cardio, that's going to help to circulate blood flow and nutrients throughout your body. It's going to help to stimulate your natural recovery process. I mean, light exercise is better than no exercise, and that applies for recovery as well. I mean, if you're feeling extra stiff and sore, sitting on the couch doing nothing is not going to help. You're better off to go out and do some light exercise, even if it's just light walking, light cardio, light stretching, light mobility work. That light movement is going to speed up recovery a lot more than sitting on your ass and doing nothing, right? So that applies to muscle soreness, it applies to injuries. Movement is what you need, not lack of movement. All right, let's move on. We have Istvan. I could be mispronouncing your name. If I am, I'm sorry, but he's joining us and he's just saying hi. Okay, question there. Shit, where am I? I lost my place. Okay. I really lost my place. This happens from sometimes. I got this little the scroll wheel on the mouse, and sometimes when I'm scrolling, it jumps a bunch of questions, and I just lost my place. Please stay tuned. We're experiencing technical difficulties while Lee is looking for his place. All right, here I am. Okay. Back to our regularly scheduled program. I couldn't make it to the gym for 2 days this week, and I just did your workout video that you've uploaded a few days ago. I guess you mean the bodyweight workout? Good. I'm not sure if that was a comment, not really a question, but good for you. Good for you. I mean, you couldn't get to the gym, but you still did a bodyweight workout. You know what? I do that on a regular basis. Whether I'm too busy to go to the gym or the weather sucks. I mean, we've had a few snowstorms recently, and it just hasn't been worth the risk. I mean, I'm not going to risk driving in a whiteout snowstorm and having a car accident for the sake of a workout when I can do one at home. So, I mean, sometimes I'll just do body weight exercises at home. And Man, if you push yourself with body weight exercises, you can get a killer workout. In fact, the most recent video I posted is a 4-minute body weight ab workout that made me made me work my ass off. I mean, it was just 4 minutes, literally 4 minutes. That includes the rest breaks and everything. And I was huffing and puffing and burning and beat to a snot after just 4 minutes. So if anybody thinks that you can't get a good workout with your body weight, you just haven't found the right workout. I'm telling you, you can do it. Let's see. We have Alberto is joining us. We have Stanley Stud. Well, that's a good name. Okay, it's Brian from the Critical Bench. Okay, all right, because I just see the Critical Bench logo there, but he's Coach Brian, who I've worked out with while in Tampa, Florida. I almost feel like I know Brian because I watched several of his videos, but actually got to work out with him and hang out with him in person. Really good bunch. Let's see what else. Wise as Time is joining us. He says, I'm 53. I just lost 75 pounds doing a ketogenic diet. Congratulations. That's quite the accomplishment. Says, I'm fairly muscular after 6 months of 3 times a week at the gym, but damn, my shoulder joints just won't stop cracking and clicking. Getting older sucks. I hear you. I have a few clicks and kinks and cracks. One thing that I find very helpful is make sure to extra emphasis on that warm-up. Like if you find that your shoulder is causing you clicks and clanks and cracks and all that, do a really good shoulder workout or warm-up. I mean, what I mean by that, like different rotator cuff rotations, different types of exercises. I've got a 10-minute full body mobility warm-up routine that you can do prior to each workout. But then go through all your major exercises with very lightweight, just going through the motions for high reps. Take your warm-up weight and do like 20 or 30 repetitions. And this is just going to help to warm up the joints, pump some blood and circulation throughout those muscles, tendons, and ligaments. And what it'll also do is it'll pre-exhaust the muscles so you won't need to lift as heavy when you get to your actual working sets. So you're actually getting more time under tension and more muscle stimulation without having to lift as heavy. And this is a strategy that I use myself, as I've gotten a bit older, and I don't want to push the heavy weights because I find that the risk to reward ratio is kind of not in your favor. And, the risk of getting injured versus having a good workout is sometimes not in your favor. So I personally try to do higher reps, more time under tension, and just focus on the quality rather than simply lifting heavy weight. So those are a few tips that can definitely help. Another big one, of course, when it comes to the shoulders, make sure you're doing a lot of work for your rear delts and pulling exercises in general. I mean, I would recommend doing more pulling work, meaning rows and pull downs and reverse flies and things like that. Band pull aparts, things for your rear delts, upper back. Do a lot of that stuff. I would rather you do more volume of pulling and work for your rear delts than you do pushing and work for your front delts, because chances are most people have developed somewhat of an imbalance, and they do more work for their front delts than they do for the rear delts and upper back. So you want to balance that out, and if you do that, that's a great way to help keep your shoulders healthy. And some of the things you can do, like rubber band exercises, are great. I mean, you even get a set of rubber fitness bands and tubing that you can do some of these extra exercises at home in between your workouts, kind of like as little feeder workouts for your upper back and rear delts. That's a great way to help keep the shoulders healthy. All right, let's move on. How are we doing for time here? I gotta see all right, I'll keep going for another 10 minutes or so. I'm sure you probably hear my son out there. He's kind of, he's 2.5 years old and he's just nuts, but it's all good. It's all good. We're a family channel here. If the family's making noise, I don't care. All right, let's keep her going. Omar is joining us. What are some more homework? He's home workouts. Okay, so I thought you were asking me if I was going to do homework. So what are some more home workouts coming out? I need a leg one, and I love your tricep one. I have the shoulder workout a home gym dumbbell shoulder workout, already taped. My video editor is in the process of putting it together right now. So that should be uploaded probably within 24 hours, thereabouts. I'll post a notice on the channel when it's available. The only one left in that series is, well, I'm going to do a dumbbell leg workout as well as a home gym abdominal workout. And like I say, they'll be all within the next week. You should have the full home gym dumbbell playlist. So there'll be a brand new workout series covering all dumbbell exercises that you can do at home using nothing more than dumbbells and an adjustable bench. So it's a great complementary workout that you can do along with your gym program, or if you just want to focus on home gym workouts alone, you can do that. And I love home workouts. I mean, I started training doing home workouts, right? I mean, as a kid, I never lived close to a gym. There was no gym in the town that we grew up in. I mean, there is now, but there was no gym, and the closest one would be like, 20 miles away. And of course, I never had a car, never had a license or nothing like that. So, I mean, I physically could not go to the gym. So I started working out at home with a set of York plastic cement-filled dumbbells. That's how it got started. Body weight exercises and York cement-filled dumbbells. And from there, we just kind of built and added on to the home gym over the years. But I spent my first 8 years of training down in my basement doing body weight exercises and very crude home gym exercises. I mean, some of the stuff that I started with, I made it out of wood, right? I remember my very first squat rack I made out of 2x4s. And that was scrap 2x4s that I swiped from my neighbor. He was doing some renovations to his house and stuff, and he had some old 2x4s out in his backyard, and I would kind of like, if nobody was looking, I'd go over and borrow a bunch of 2x4s from my neighbor, and I nailed and screwed those things together and made myself a makeshift squat rack. And that's the very first squat rack I had down in my basement, was one that I made out of scrap 2x4 lumber. I also made like a makeshift power rack out of 2x4 because I found that, okay, I'm doing these squats, I'm doing these bench presses, and I'm getting stapled to the bench, right? Everybody's going to hit failure at some point or another. So I said, I got to figure out a way to train safely. So I even made a makeshift power rack out of 2x4. Made like benches out of scrap lumber, and then I would pad them with old carpeting or blankets. I mean, I wish I had a digital camera back then, because this was back in the late 80s, early 90s. There was no such thing as, smartphones and digital cameras and all that stuff. So I don't have any documented footage of this stuff. Maybe a few physical pictures, but nothing like we have today where people take pictures of everything. But yeah, I mean, those were the days, right? I mean, I had some crude old stuff, but I was consistent and I was passionate and I was stubborn enough to use it and actually make some gains. So I trained for 8 years. My first 8 years before I even went to a public gym was down in the basement. And I even competed in 3 bodybuilding shows training from my basement home gym. So, I mean, you can make some gains if you're consistent, regardless of how basic and crude the equipment may be. All right, let's move on. I know I'm going on a bit of a rant here, or a bit of a ramble. Okay, we have Charlie Chills saying the kickboxer ab video was gruesome. It was a good one, man. I gotta say, like, that's the one I was telling you about, that 4-minute workout that's going to kick your ass. There it is. Hello, Lee from New Zealand. I've enjoyed your videos for years. I'm not much of a bodybuilder, but for someone that suffers from depression, I find going to the gym makes me feel so much better. Thanks. Thank you for your comment, and I totally agree with you. I think one of the best things that you can do for not just your physical health, but for your mental health is regular exercise. I mean, I feel it myself. I mean, we all go through phases where we go through ups and downs in our moods and emotions and everything else. But I find that going to the gym, it is natural medicine. I mean, my go-to strategy now, like if I get frustrated with my work, or sometimes I'm doing something and it's not going the way I want, or you're feeling frustrated and getting pissed off and agitated. My default now is, as soon as that happens, I stop whatever I'm doing and I either go for a walk. That's usually step, my first option, or I'll go to the gym and work out. But bottom line, I stop whatever I'm doing and I exercise. I physically move my body and just kind of detach myself from whatever it is that I'm getting frustrated with, right? Like maybe I'm doing some work on my website and the damn thing's not working or whatever, and I'm getting frustrated with it. Stop it, go for a walk, right? I mean, maybe working on some programs or whatever it is, right? My default, if I get frustrated and start to get that overwhelmed, agitated, angry, pissed off, whatever you want to say, I just say, look, that's it. Stop, get outside and do some exercise. And I find that once I do that, then I can come back to whatever I was struggling with, and I'm just like in a refreshed frame of mind, and it can usually, get past whatever sticky point I was at previously. So it's a great strategy, absolutely. And in fact, I made a video not too long ago, or actually it was kind of long ago, it was over a year ago now, but talking about the best natural cure for depression. And bottom line, it was exercise. So if you just do a search for Lee Hayward depression, you should find that video. I'm not saying that it's not a depression video but it's a cure for depression. It's Lee Hayward best natural cure for depression, or something like that is the title of it. But it was basically me having a long conversation with the camera, sharing some practical advice that you can use to help improve your physical and mental health through exercise. All right, we have Eximo 12. I think that's how I pronounce your name. It says, greetings from Spain. Let's see what else we got. Brilliant Bullet, or sorry, Bullet. Saying, Lee, you're by far the best channel. Well, I don't know if I'm the best channel. There's an awful lot of channels out there, but thank you. I appreciate your comment. Lee, I watched your 20 rep squat video and knocked out 20 reps with 80 kilograms today. Thanks for the inspiration. 80 kilograms. So that's, what are we looking at? I got to do the math here. I'm a pounds guy. So 80 kilograms with 176. That's respectable. That is definitely respectable for starting off the 20 rep squat program. So what I would recommend, if you want to progress with this program, try and add a couple kilos to the bar every workout. Hello, Harvey. You probably hear Harvey out there at the door. Hello. So add an extra couple kilos to the bar each workout, like 2 kilos, 5 pounds. That's what you want to shoot for on a workout per workout basis when you're doing the 20 rep squat program. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay, some conversation going on. If you haven't already done so, check out the Critical Bench. criticalbench.com, Critical Bench on YouTube. People are talking about the Critical Bench. Gregory is joining us. He says, Lee, I'm 15. I've been lifting for a year, starting to get serious. I weigh 59 kilograms. I'm 5'9". Is it okay for me to take protein powder and do exercise that compresses the spine? Excuse me. Do exercises that compress the spine. Sorry, let me start again. Let me have a drink of water. It's not coffee, by the way. It's just water in a cup. But clear my throat. Gregory is joining us. Gregory's 15 years old. He's been lifting for a year. He's starting to get serious, and he weighs 59 kilograms. He's 5'9". He wants to know, is it okay to take protein powder? That's question number one. Yes, it's okay to take protein powder. I actually have a video talking about protein powder and is it safe for teenagers to take protein powder. Bottom line, it is. Look, protein is an essential nutrient that's needed for all life, right? You need protein. Whether you get your protein from food, whether you get it from protein powder, whether you get it from, milk, dairy, whey protein, steak, chicken, fish, whether you get it from plant protein, it doesn't matter. You need protein. Now, is protein safe? Yes, it is. Do you know there's protein powder there's protein, like whey protein or whatever, in infant formula? Kid you not. You go look at baby infant formula, right? The stuff that you give newborns. Read the ingredient label. There's protein in that. So, I mean, if protein is safe enough to give a newborn baby, it's safe enough to give a teenager. It's safe enough to give a grown-ass adult. It's safe for everybody. You need protein to grow and build and repair muscle tissue. Your muscle tissue is made up of primarily protein. The dry weight of muscle is mostly protein. You need it. It's safe. Use it. Done. All right, what else? You got another question there. Do exercises that compress the spine, like squats, make you shorter? No. All right. Working out, doing exercises like the squat. I mean, now, if you were to somehow do something that injured your back, like you lifted so heavy that you physically injured yourself, I mean, that's obviously not going to help. But does working out, does doing squats and all that make you shorter? No, it doesn't. Right? Seriously, it does not make you shorter. You're going to grow to be a certain height, regardless if you lift weights or not. And I have a video on YouTube. If you do a search for that, does working out make you shorter? Like if you search for like Lee Hayward, does working out make you shorter? You'll find my video where I go into a lot more detail about that as well and give real world examples. I'll give you a prime example right now. Like people think, okay, squats make you short or working out makes you short. Who's one of the greatest bodybuilders of all time, right? Who's the one who's probably motivated more people than anybody else in the world? Arnold Schwarzenegger. Have you ever seen Arnold? Arnold is freaking tall. He's well over 6 foot tall. He's been working out since he was a kid. Working out did not make that man short, and he did a lot of working out, right? Boom, prime example. Another big example, Lou Ferrigno, the Incredible Hulk. The guy is like 6'5". He is a giant in more ways than one, height and mass. He's been working out since he was a kid. Working out did not make him short, right? So, I mean, just because you see some people who are short and work out, they would have been short if they didn't work out, right? Like working out does not make you short, or working out does not make you tall. Like same with like basketball, right? Let's use the opposite analogy. Just because I play basketball doesn't mean I'm going to grow tall, right? I can go out and shoot hoops all day long. I'm not going to grow. But most people who play basketball, especially at the high level, are tall. There's no correlation, right? It's just people do different sports, regardless if they're tall or short, right? So they're working out doesn't make you short. Let's move on. I'll see if I can bang out a few more of these questions before we clear it up for the day. Matthew is joining us, and he says, I appreciate all the knowledge you put on here. I was wondering if you ever tried Vince Gironda's steak and eggs diet. I know you like variety of foods, but I'm just curious. I have followed low carb diets before, ketogenic type of diets. Probably not Vince Gironda's steak and eggs diet per se, but I have followed different variations of ketogenic diets, which included primarily meat and fat and very low carbs, very low vegetables and things like that. I find that if I don't get the veggies in my diet, I feel like crap. I find that I get constipated. I just don't function right. I don't feel right. I need lots of vegetables in my diet. I eat a lot of vegetables. Right? I do. I eat a lot of vegetables. And the volume of vegetables that I eat, even though it's primarily like fibrous vegetables, you know, like a lot of greens and things like that, the volume I eat would bump me out of ketosis, because I do eat a lot of them. So even if I'm following a low carb diet, it's a low carb diet. It's not a no carb diet, because the vegetables are still there, and that would have my carb intake high enough that it would keep me out of ketosis. I have followed ketogenic diets before, which included like steak and eggs and other high fat foods. And it did work in the short term. Yes, I would lose weight, but ultimately I didn't feel healthy. I didn't feel good. And it's not something I want to follow for the long term. Now, that's my opinion. I know everybody's got their own opinion. Some people love ketogenic diets, say it's, the best thing that ever worked for them. And if that's the case, hey, more power to you. I'm just sharing my opinion. I personally find a well-balanced diet, with a well-balanced ratio of all the 3 macronutrients. I usually strive for a third of my calories from protein, a third of my calories from carbs, and a third of my calories from fat. I find if I do that 1/3 ratio or close to it, I mean, it doesn't have to be, spot on. I mean, I might have a bit more protein one day, a bit more carbs the next, or whatever, but I usually strive for that equal balance. And as long as I have that equal balance, I feel good. Whether I'm in a bulking phase, a cutting phase, I find that balanced ratio just allows me to feel good, feel satiated, and feel balanced hormonally. If I go really low fat, I feel weird. I mean, I don't have the same satiation from my meals, and it just doesn't feel right. If I go really low carb, you know, again, I don't have that same satiation from my meals, don't feel right. And if I go low protein, I even tried low protein when I did a vegan diet experiment, you know, back in 2014. I went 6 months following a vegan diet. So I had low protein, and that didn't work for me, right? I've just found out through years of trial and error, I need a well-balanced diet, right? I mean, third protein, third carbs, third fat, and that works for me, right? And surprisingly enough, I find most people that I work with, you know, my coaching students, they respond well to a well-balanced diet as well. I'd say like about 80% of the people out there, a well-balanced diet is going to work ideal for you. Now, of course, you look at it, it's like a bell curve, right? The 80-20 rule. 80% of the people are probably going to function on a well-balanced diet. But then you're going to have 20% who are the extremists. Some people function really well on a low carb. Some people function really well on low fat or low protein or whatever. Those are the exception. That's not the rule. Most average people, you know, the 80-20, 80% are going to function the best on a well-balanced diet. And I think my son out there is, I don't know, if he's probably not eating a well-balanced diet, but the sound's coming out of him. Oh, well, I'm probably going to clue up soon. Stanley Stud says, Lee is a top guy and he talks sense. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sometimes my wife wouldn't agree, but I appreciate it. My wife sometimes thinks I talk too much. YOLO Drolls. YOLO Droll says, hi Lee, does smoking a little weed at night to relax affect muscle gain? I don't know. I've never smoked weed. I mean, I have tried it when I was a kid, you know, but I've never smoked it consistently. I really don't know if it affects your muscle gains or not. So we'll leave it at that. Dorian Yates smokes weed. You can check out his documentary and stuff and his Facebook page and stuff. He's a very open, avid weed smoker. And I know now that it's kind of come to light and it's been legalized. I mean, it's legal in Canada now, and I have no desire. Like, I didn't use it when it was illegal, and I'm not using it now that it's legal. I just don't fancy it. I think this stuff stinks. But I know some people use it, find it works for them, and you know, as I don't know much about it, but from my understanding, there's different strains of marijuana. Like, some of it has almost like a stimulant type of effect. Some has a sedative type of effect. Again, I don't know much about it. I'm just from what I've heard other people talking about. So I guess if you use some of the ones that are have the sedative, relaxing benefits, it might help you sleep better at night. As far as muscle gain, you know, I really don't know if it's going to have that big of an impact. I really don't know, right? I mean, some people say it lowers testosterone. Some people say it doesn't. I mean, yeah, when it comes to studies, you can have a study to prove whatever you want, depending on the bias of the study. So again, I'm just going to just admit I have no freaking clue. All right. If anybody else wants to chime in, feel free to. I mean, again, I don't have any personal experience with it, so I mean, I'm just talking shit right now. Let's move on. We have Levant, I think it is. It says, hi Lee, because of a lower back hernia that damaged the nerves in my left leg, I cannot fully train the left side like I can the right side. I cannot squat, for example. Any tips? Okay. Do the best you can do. I know that sounds like a very vague and generalized answer, but seriously, I mean, I would look into alternative forms of therapy for this. If I was in that situation, I wouldn't just take, you know, the whatever the doctor's orders and just take the painkillers and say deal with it. I would look for alternative forms of therapy. If you have, you know, damaged nerves in your back and stuff like that, you know, I would look into massage therapists. I would look into acupuncture. I would look into different forms of alternative therapy to see if any of it would help provide a benefit. And even if it's a slight edge benefit, I mean, you're probably never going to fully cure this. I mean, you're probably always going to have some pain and some nerve issues and some imbalances between your left and right legs. You're probably always going to have some problem with it, but maybe you can make the best of the situation. So if I was in your situation, again, I would look for the alternative medicine route, not just the numb it down with more painkillers route. And as far as your workouts in the gym, work within your pain threshold. I remember when I was suffering from some injuries, like I tore both biceps before, I tore some muscles in my lat tie-in area. When I'd go to the physiotherapist, one of the best pieces of advice that he gave me was, he said, work within your pain threshold. So you want to push yourself, but as soon as it gets to the point where it starts to hurt a little bit, that's when you back off. So don't be afraid to push yourself, but listen to your body and work within your pain threshold. And as soon as it, a little tiny bit of discomfort's okay, because, you need to work through it and kind of try and stimulate yourself, stimulate the muscles and provide a response that's actually going to grow bigger and stronger. But when it gets to the point where it starts to become a bit unbearable, it goes from that mild working pain to, oh, that hurts pain, that's when you back off, right? So work within your pain threshold and basically focus on the consistency. So rather than doing like a big ass leg workout once a week, I'd probably do a little mini leg workout 2 or 3 times a week. Just a little bit of stimulation that's easy to do and easy to recover from, rather than going into the gym and saying, like, blasting 20 sets of legs, which is just going to destroy your legs and leave you feeling sore for days. I'd rather go in and do, 3 or 4 sets every single time you go to the gym, and just have this little bit of stimulation, allow your body to rest, recover, and grow. A little bit of stimulation, rest, recover, grow. And these little mini workouts usually help to enhance your recovery and your mobility versus breaking it down further. So again, those are a few tips that I would do if I was in that situation, but definitely look into the alternative medicine route and see what solutions and strategies they can come up with. David is joining us. He says, I'm enjoying the live chat. Thank you. David is a new coaching student of mine. We're in the journey right now. 2019 is going to be the year we're going to get David all lean, trim, fit as a fiddle. So he's part of the Muscle Over 40 coaching program. So thank you, David, for tuning in. Who else we got? Idris says, the Pathfinder. I hope you still have the machete. Oh, he's been watching Elliot Hulse's video. Elliot gave the analogy of me cutting down the internet, the interwebs with a machete and starting the path for future fitness entrepreneurs to make their mark on the interwebs. All right, let's move on. Lee, I'm currently on a cut, training 3 days a week, 1.5 hours each day. How do I adjust my nutrition on training days versus non-training days? I personally don't do a lot of change. I mean, if you're following some sort of carb cycle diet, like maybe high carb one day, medium carb, low carb, and going through a rotation like that, I usually let it fall where they may. Like let the carb cycle fall where it may on your training days, because there's benefits to all the different scenarios. Like there's a benefit to training in a high carb, well-fed state. There's a benefit to training in a carb depleted state. Obviously, if you're training when you're carb loaded, you're going to have more strength, more energy, help stimulate more muscle growth. If you're training when you're carb depleted, you're going to tap into burning more body fat. So there's a pro and con to both, or there's advantages to both, I should say. So if you're following a carb cycle diet, just let it fall where it may. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're training legs on low carbs or high carbs or medium carbs. Just go through the cycle and let your workouts fall. If you're not following any type of rotational diet, and you're just following the same diet, I usually don't have a big variation between workout day and non-workout day. The only thing that would be different is if you're taking any pre or post-workout supplements or any special pre or post-workout nutrition. Like if you have a pre-workout drink before you go to the gym, obviously you're not going to take that on your non-workout day. Or if you have like a post-workout shake or intra-workout amino acids or something like that, obviously you're not going to need that on a non-workout day. But as far as your regular meals, keep it consistent, right? That's what I focus on. I just keep the diet consistent and focus on losing fat slowly over time. All right. Okay, why is this time? Says, thanks, Lee. You're the man. I do appreciate it. Benjamin's joining us. What do you think about butterfly with dumbbells on a bench? So dumbbell flies, basically. That's what you mean. I think it's a great exercise. I usually do dumbbell flies as a regular part of my chest workouts. Personally, I like the incline bench dumbbell fly better than the flat bench dumbbell fly. And not that there's anything wrong with the flat bench fly, but I find the incline angle is easier on my shoulders. I find I get a better stretch throughout the upper chest, and it's just a more comfortable movement pattern for me. So more often than not, if you see any of my chest workouts and I'm doing flies, it's usually an incline bench fly, not a flat bench fly. Now, again, that's personal preference. You can do whatever you want, but it's a great exercise. And I find that doing exercises where you work the muscle through a fully stretched range of motion, such as the fly, is a great addition to your training. Like if you're always doing the mid-range compound lifts, you know, those big, basic, heavy compound lifts, which a lot of people usually do when they start, and then you start implementing the isolation exercises where now you're working the muscle through the fully stretched, and then you're working the muscle through the peak contraction and the different ranges of motion, that can be like the next step to enhance your muscular development. And that's the fundamentals of the positions of flexion style of training, right? You work the mid-range, the fully stretched, and the peak contraction. And if you're looking for complete development, that's the way you want to go. And if you want more information about positions of flexion, I have a playlist on YouTube. Just open up there, and there's a full positions of flexion workout playlist covering POF workouts for all your major muscle groups. I'm going to probably clue it up. Let's see. Actually, I'm almost to the end of the questions. If you guys don't mind, I'm going to keep it going. I know I've been on this for over an hour, but like, who cares, right? Get all the time in the world. Hey. I think Harvey wants to come in and make a debut on the camera for those of you who are still tuned in live.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Wow.
Whoa. Are you wearing a dinosaur suit?
Wow.
You're wearing a dinosaur suit. Look at this, guys.
Wow.
Look at my dinosaur. What does a dinosaur say?
Wow.
Rawr. Look, there's you, and there's Dougie the dinosaur, and you're on the internet. You're on the internet. There's a whole bunch of bodybuilders and fitness enthusiasts on there, and they're watching you and Dougie the dinosaur. Dougie the dinosaur, that's right. This was Harvey's Halloween costume back in October. He dressed up as Dougie the dinosaur and went around. Dougie the dinosaur.
He just asked to put on.
And went around to the neighbors and, of course, scared everybody with the big old dinosaur costume and got a whole bunch of treats in the process. Yeah, that's Dougie's arms. And Dougie's. Yeah.
What?
So you gonna go out and play Dougie Dinosaur?
Dougie.
Yeah, Dougie the Dinosaur. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious me. There we go. All right. Yeah. Good job. Yeah, good job, Harvey. Here, I'm sorry. So there was my training partner tuned in. As some of you see now, we did a workout down in Florida together, and he jumped in for the body weight workout. And he's strong enough to lift a dinosaur. All right, where was I? I know I got distracted there. I said I'm almost to the end of the posted questions, so I said I'm going to clue it up, and if you guys are cool with it, I'll keep going. I mean, I don't care. I haven't done one of these in a while, so I'm kind of on a roll here now. Okay, another question coming through from NTN Vlogs and Lee. For anyone not taking anything, if you know what I mean, would you say it's possible to get ripped without starving? I just get too hungry from my workouts, which is expected, hence my question. Okay, so you mean not taking anything, meaning not taking any performance-enhancing drugs. I don't know what else you mean. Like, you mean like no fat burners, no supplements? Because I'm going to be totally upfront and honest with you. Fat burners can be a nice crutch when you're following a cutting diet. One of the best fat burners ever, hands down, without a doubt, is the ephedrine, the caffeine, and the aspirin stack. Now, the ephedrine, caffeine, aspirin stack, the aspirin part of it is optional. Some people like it, some people don't, whatever, but the ephedrine and the caffeine definitely works. And one of the best things about it is it curbs your appetite. I mean, yes, it does increase thermogenesis. Yes, it'll help stimulate more fat burning, blah, blah, blah. But one of the best things is it's going to increase your energy and it's going to curb your appetite. So if you take that on an empty stomach before your workouts, you're going to have more energy for your workout, and you're going to be able to get through the workout without feeling as hungry, or possibly not even feel hungry at all. So you can get a good fat burning training session. And I've used ephedrine and caffeine for years on and off when training for fat loss, and I find it works really well. Fortunately, here in Canada, ephedrine is still legal. You can get it over the counter. There's none of this BS laws of having it banned and all this crap. I know depending on the country you're living in, you probably can't get it. I'm not sure what the status of it is in the United States. It might be prescription or behind the counter. I really don't know. But I know here in Canada, we can just get it over the counter. You can only get it in 8 milligram tablets. So to overcome that, people just simply take more tablets. The general stack was 25 milligrams of ephedrine and 200 milligrams of caffeine. So guys now are usually taking 3 8-milligram tablets and 200 milligrams of caffeine. Me personally, I usually have the ephedrine along with a strong cup of coffee as my caffeine source. But I find it works well, and it's a great crutch to help you control your appetite while you're on a fat loss diet. What else? Another thing I'm going to recommend too when it comes to your what would you recommend someone who's trying to lose fat and they don't want to feel too hungry? He wanted to come back in. All right, we got this fella here. He's following a cutting diet, and he's finding that he's feeling extra hungry when he's working out, and he's not taking anything, not taking any gear at all. No fat burners, no gear, nothing. So he's doing it natural. What would you recommend? What? What would you recommend? You'd recommend a dinosaur?
Stretch.
Oh, stretch. Oh, stretch. Are you stretching his nose? You stretching his nose? Well, we can do that. We can stretch the time between meals. This is another strategy you can use for fat loss. I find it easier to eat fewer meals and follow an intermittent fasting approach and stretch out the time you fast. And then when you do eat, you get to eat bigger, more satisfying meals. And it's just a great way to cut your calories without suffering or torturing yourself. So instead of eating multiple calories, we're going to eat fewer meals, fewer but bigger, more satisfying meals. So instead of the 6 small meals a day, which I find painfully inconvenient because you eat a small meal that stimulates your appetite and then you have to leave the table feeling hungry. That's no fun. But if you eat, say, 2 or 3 smaller meals, you get to eat 2 or 3 bigger meals. You'll keep the calories the same, but you get to actually have more satisfying meals. So that's a strategy you can try as well. Intermittent fasting can help you get ripped without feeling like you're starving yourself. And that works regardless if you're natural or enhanced or whatever. And what else? All right. I think this video chat's gone on long enough. All right. When Harvey comes in and he won't let me do a video chat, we're going to get ready and clue it up. So thanks again, guys, for tuning in. I know I didn't get through all the questions like I had hoped to, but it was fun to do a video chat again. I miss these chats, and I'm going to be doing them on a regular basis. So thanks again for tuning in. Have yourself a good one, and I will talk to you next Friday. Same time, same place. Have yourself a great weekend, and enjoy. Over and out.